can still hear you, you know, walking around. And if I catch the light on the lens and just the right place, I can make out your shape as well. It can't be you. Melissa and I met in a maths lecture at university. We used to pass each other messages written in only algebraic symbols. Do you remember? And then we used to sit on the riverbank and just talk until the sun came up. It's then that we had the idea for the school, wasn't it? Yeah, it was just meant to be like a normal school, not... I don't even know what this is. The switch in this room has 3 connectors instead of 2. This means that you can not only use it to break or complete a circuit, you can also use it to redirect the flow of charge from one machine to another. Alright, we do voltage. Everybody does voltage first. And then we say voltage equals current times resistance. But then it just looks like current is like a bigger or a smaller version of voltage, which isn't right. And there's a load of maths that you have to do in your head. We can't have people solving equations while they're jumping off platforms and climbing ladders. What about we visualize the voltage and current inside the wires? So the voltage is like the brightness of the blobs, and the current is like the speed that they move through the wires at. No, that doesn't work because you can't tell if something's moving, say, twice as fast as opposed to 3 times as fast as something else. Or if something is half as bright as opposed to a third as bright. Something like. You don't get that quantitative understanding, which I think is crucial here, isn't it? We stick with the equations. But we build them out of metal. I'm imagining some kind of sort of mechanical device here. And then that allows the individual symbols to grow and shrink as the current and other quantities in the circuit change. So as people sort of mess around with the circuits, they'll see the equations sort of stretch and change as they're doing it. And that will allow them to create this sort of intuitive connection between what's going on in the wires and what's going on in the equations. Ah! Madness. This just requires a little bit of thinking about. this all took quite a lot longer than I expected it to get this sorted out. But I think I now have a way to explain all this stuff that makes sense. So that's good. Good. You're here too. Great. Obviously, this wasn't the only thing I was doing. You know, I do have other things in my life, like other things. Let's get on with the next bit. Wire more than one machine up to a fuel cell. If you let the current flow out of one machine and into another. This is called wiring machines up in series. Can move through wires very quickly. Remember your short-circuiting adventure? Well, machines have something called resistance. Now, resistance slows charge down. And the more machines you have in series, the more resistance the charge has to push through, and the slower it flows. Now, the slower the charge is flowing, the less power it can deliver to each of the machines. So, the more machines you have wired up to a fuel cell, the slower each one runs. Charge can move through wires very quickly. Remember your short-circuiting adventure? Well, machines have something called resistance. Now, resistance slows charge down. And the more machines you have in series, the more resistance the charge has to push through, and the slower it flows. Now, the slower the charge is flowing, the less power it can deliver to each of the machines. So, the more machines you have wired up to a fuel cell, the slower each one runs.